Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forsythe. We are taking a look today and reviewing the series between the Colorado Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights. This was the hyped series going into the Stanley Cup playoffs this year. We knew these teams would eventually meet up in the playoffs, whether it was the first round or the second round like we had this year, duking it out for the West Division. And the Vegas Golden Knights defied the odds by some. Most people probably aren't that shocked that the Golden Knights won this series. We'll be reviewing that series in this video. So let's get right into it. So the Vegas Golden Knights coming into this series had a pretty interesting first round series. I mean, they played the Minnesota Wild, the third seed in this division, and Vegas as the second seed was the favorite going into this series. They did quite well. They pretty much dominated the Wild after the first game, and they kind of let the Wild come back in the series. They had a 3-1 lead in that series, and they let the Wild come back, and this thing ended up going to 7 games. Meanwhile, for the Colorado Avalanche, a totally different scenario. They came in as the West Division regular season champions, quote unquote, and they took on the St. Louis Blues, who were probably one of the best teams on the road from the trade deadline to the end of the regular season. They had a really impressive run. Sound familiar? Ringing bells of 2019, what the St. Louis Blues did on their Stanley Cup run. So you knew that wasn't going to be necessarily an easy task for the Avalanche, but the way the Avalanche handled the Blues in that first round series, you knew that this could potentially be ugly, and the Vegas Golden Knights ended up sweeping the Blues. Really not much of a threat at all to Colorado Avalanche, and the Avalanche pretty much dominated. And then we go into the first game of this series, and we saw that domination continue for the Avalanche. They completely murdered the Vegas Golden Knights in Game 1. Now remember, the Golden Knights had just played a Game 7 2 days prior, so obviously they were a little bit tired and not well rested, and that did become an issue in Game 1. Robin Lehner did start the game, and it was a 7-1 win for the Avalanche. Started off by the big boys, which is very much of an issue. We saw guys like Mikko Rantanen, Gabriel Landeskog, McKinnon, all getting on the board. And this had to be nightmare for the Golden Knights fans, seeing Landeskog score 2, and of course Nathan McKinnon with the hat trick. So now you go into Game 2, and the Avalanche are at home, and you figured that they were going to make this difficult on the Vegas Golden Knights. And they did exactly that, winning the game 3-2 in overtime. Who other than one of the 3 big boys for this Avs team, Mikko Rantanen, his second of the series. And now the Avalanche have a 2-0 stranglehold on this series. Vegas kind of disappointed. Obviously, Game 1 didn't go their way by any stretch. They could have won Game 2. Ideally, you would have liked to have come back home, at least splitting with the Avalanche. That didn't end up being the case. But the Avalanche were able to, the Golden Knights were able to get things done in Game 3. They were able to turn the tide for this series. William Karlsson got the first goal of the game. Out of all people, Carl Soderberg, his first of the postseason for the Avs. Once again, Mikko Rantanen on a 3-game goal streak for the Avalanche, his 4th of the postseason. And then we see the Golden Knights do what the Golden Knights do. Jonathan Marchessault and Max Pacioretty score in the third period. It's a 3-2 victory for the Golden Knights. And this is where we see the tide turn for this series for the better for the team in gold. Game 4 was kind of the Golden Knights' redemption at Game 1. At home, Brandon Saad gets the first goal of the game for the Avs. He actually played really well in this series. But then the Av Killers come out once again. Jonathan Marchessault with a hat trick in this game. Max Pacioretty scoring his 3rd of the postseason. And Patrick Brown, out of all people, that goal would end up getting reviewed by the Avs. Jared Bednar did want to make a challenge on that play. Didn't end up going his way. And the Avalanche really weren't able to get any momentum after that. A 5-1 win. And then this is where the series really takes its toll on the Avalanche. As you guys know, Game 5 is crucial in a series because typically in those first 4 games, we'll see the 2 teams fight it out, whether the home team wins their 2 games at home or they split both home and away games, and it's usually 2-2. That Game 5 is critical. We've seen that in other series, the Islander series in particular, where if you win Game 5, now you have the ropes back home in Game 6, which means you have home ice advantage. And the Golden Knights did exactly that. They find a way to win on the road in overtime yet again. Brandon Saad, again, what the hell, his 7th of the postseason. He had a really good series. Jonas Donskoy would score, and that was it. The rest of this game was to the Golden Knights. Alex Tuch once again, Jonathan Marchessault, holy crap. And then, of course, the captain, Mark Stone, less than a minute into overtime, a 3-2 victory for the Vegas Golden Knights. And the Avalanche have got to feel deflated at this point, losing 3 straight games. And quite honestly, they could have won 2 of these games, but they just weren't able to get it done. And now, all of a sudden, the talk going into Game 6 is that Nathan MacKinnon has not gotten a point since Game 1. That ended up being pretty much rectified right away, as 23 seconds into Game 6, Devon Toews, the former New York Islander, I miss him very much, Devon Toews gets the goal 23 seconds in, the fastest goal in Avalanche history in the Stanley Cup playoffs, of course assisted by Nathan MacKinnon, so he got that point out of the way early on. Nick Holden and William Karlsson would score in the first period to make things interesting, 2-1 Vegas. And then we see the same guys, Mikko Rantanen getting back on the board, his first time since Game 3. We see Kale Kolesar, Burakovsky, Pietrangelo, just a mix of everybody getting goals. And then William Carrier and Max Pacioretty, once again, a 6-3 win for Vegas. And they move on to take on Les Canadiens. So a huge series there. And honestly, I'm disappointed. I was really hoping this thing would go to 7 games, but give a ton of credit to the Golden Knights. They found a way to get it done. And if you look at Nathan MacKinnon in the post-game press conference, he was pretty pissed off. He was very upset with how things ended. And let's see if I can get that quote here real quick. He was pissed. And of course, I did not keep that. Well, bad preparation on my part. But basically, he was saying how he's pissed off and he's going to use this as fire to next season. It's all talk until you actually prove it. So we'll see what Nathan MacKinnon does. Obviously, he's frustrated with the amount of time that he's been in Colorado. This team has had their struggles. They've had some success like this past year. But at the end of the day, they lose in the second round. And to an the Golden Knights, you could argue probably one of the best teams in the NHL. Going into this season, going into the playoffs, and now in the Final Four. It's disappointing for the Avalanche. The Golden Knights, Pete DeBoer back in the Stanley Cup in the quarterfinals for the 4th time in 6 seasons since his days back in New Jersey. So, you know the Devils, the Golden Knights for that matter. This is a really good hockey team, and Marc-Andre Fleury really has been the difference for the Golden Knights and between the pipes. And the fact that they're getting depth scoring, the fact that they're getting the top guys. I mean, Jonathan Marchessault has been absolutely unreal, especially in this series. And that's got to continue because the Montreal Canadiens, don't sleep on the Habs right now. They have been very solid. They just swept the Winnipeg Jets. They won 3 straight before that against the Maple Leafs. So they have won their last 7 consecutive games in the postseason. So Knights fans thinking this thing's going to be over in 2 or 3 games. Not going to be the case. The Habs will be ready to play. Guys like Nick Suzuki, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and obviously the best goaltender in the NHL, you could argue, in Carey Price. That's going to be a great playoff series. So, Knights fans, let me know what you think of that series against the Habs. And Avs fans, what do you want to see the Avalanche do this offseason? I'm going to have to make a video over the next couple weeks about the whole situation with their captain, Gabe Landeskog. He is an unrestricted free agent next month, so that will have some ramifications on the future of the Avs, as well as Cale Makar, who is a restricted free agent this offseason. The Avalanche have some big decisions to make. Joe Sakic has been a very good general manager with the way he's managed this team over the past couple of years, but we'll see what happens this offseason for the Avs. Congratulations to the Golden Knights making the Final Four once again. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL and more 2021 Stanley Cup playoffs coverage just like this, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.